Recent neuroscientific studies have provided great insight into how we learn. Dr. Lila Devacci and her team established the AGES model based on this research, which assists in optimizing the formation of memory and making learning stick. In order for successful learning to take place, students need to be able to encode information in the brain in such a way that it is easily retrievable. The hippocampus needs to be activated in order for this to take place, and the AGES model provides insight into how we can activate this important region of the brain in order to achieve optimal learning. The acronym AGES stands for Attention, Generation, Emotion, and Spacing. These are 4 essential elements of successful learning retention. Students need to give their full and undivided attention in order for learning to take place. Multitasking or working in an environment that is full of distractions has a negative impact on learning, as this leads to a decrease in neural firing rates. In order for the brain to pay close attention, it needs 2 important neurochemicals, dopamine and norepinephrine. Dopamine, or the happy hormone, is released when a student feels open, supported, curious, and goal-focused, and we can aid in this by providing students with positive feedback, focusing on the relevance of what we are teaching, and providing novel learning experiences. Norepinephrine is a stress hormone as well as a neurotransmitter. This neurochemical is associated with alertness and focus. While we normally identify stress as a negative feeling, a certain level of stress is required in order to learn. Obviously, we want to maintain a happy and supportive classroom environment, but we can trigger the release of this hormone by providing students with challenges and competitive activities through gamification. When new learning enters the brain, it cannot exist in isolation, but rather joins a complex network of pre-existing knowledge and understanding. It is not until we create associations between new learning and prior understanding that the hippocampus is activated. The more associations we are able to generate, the more easily we can retrieve this information. In order to generate meaningful associations, we should encourage our students to take ownership of new information by personalizing, evaluating, elaborating on, ordering, comparing, and transforming it in a way that is meaningful to them. Asking students to apply this new learning in novel and meaningful situations also helps to establish associations. Neuroscientific and psychological research shows that these actions are far more effective in building long-term memory than repetition. Memories are more easily retrieved when linked to strong emotions, as emotional cues ignite more neural activity and forge deeper, richer neural pathways. Emotion is also an important factor that influences the reaction of the amygdala. Remember from our introduction that the amygdala is the traffic cop of the brain. If our students are in a state of physical, emotional, or social discomfort, the amygdala will not let information enter the brain and be committed to long-term memory. If, on the other hand, our students feel safe and engaged, the traffic cop will allow new information to enter the brain. The amygdala also sits directly in front of the hippocampus and signals that the information it is allowing into the brain is important and should be encoded into long-term memory. David Rock's SCARF model can be used to evoke positive emotions in the classroom, and we will explore this in more detail in our PLCs. We have all been in a position where we needed to cram before an exam. While this method is successful for short-term learning goals, the information learnt in this manner is not retained in long-term memory. Rather than massing information into large, lengthy blocks, we should distribute learning over time and call on the students to retrieve this information after some time has passed in order to practice the act of retrieving the information. Studies have shown that repeated testing, where students are asked to regularly recall the same information, is more beneficial to long-term memory development than repeated studying. When presenting information over a period of time, we should not simply repeat the information in each learning session, but rather work with the information in a series of pre-exposure, previewing, priming, transforming, reviewing, testing, and revision. This provides students with the time to construct and maintain the neural networks needed to retain their learning. How can you implement the AGES model in your own classroom?